Larry, welcome back. I want to talk about your book. We talked a little bit about the campaign. I think you laid out very succinctly what your purpose is and what you add to the table. Our party is not having these conversations, and to be honest, Larry, nobody can have these conversations with as much enthusiasm, zeal, confidence as you have. So I want to talk to you about your book. I think that Larry can't hear me,
I
so let's
can.
see if we can fix that.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So Larry, let's talk about your book. The book is titled As Goes California: My Mission to Rescue the Golden State and Save the Nation. Talk to us a little bit about the book and how or why you wrote the book and kind of what you want to convey to the people.
Well, I wrote the book to give the rest of the country a warning about what happens to your state when you have single party domination, as we've had in California for years. As you know, there is a supermajority of Democrats in the Senate, a supermajority of Democrats in the Assembly. Republicans need not even show up for work. So they pass one brain dead after brain dead, freedom sapping, job killing bill after another. You have a governor, for example, that signed legislation to set up the reparations panel, even though California wasn't even a slave state. This is a guy who has backed all of these soft on crime initiatives and these soft on crime DAs, and crime is going up in LA, in San Diego, in Los Angeles, and again, primarily in the inner city where black and brown people live, the people that people like Gavin Newsom purport to care about. I talk about how he used COVID as an excuse to shut down the state in a more severe way than did any of the other 49 governors. Because of the way he shut down this state, a third of all restaurants in California are now gone forever, and these are primarily thinly capitalized mom and pop restaurants, often owned by black and brown people, again, the very people on the left that people purport to care about. California, the average price of a home in California is 175% above the national average because of the marriage between the Democrats and the environmentalists that hate any kind of development. So there are a million fewer housing units in California than would otherwise be the case if it weren't for the power that these environmentalists have over the Democrats. You name the brain dead issue, and Gavin Newsom is behind it, including outlawing the sale of new gas powered cars by 2035, whether or not people want them. Are you kidding me? And then 2 days after he issued that edict, he issued a energy alert saying that please, if you own an EV, and only right now 2.9% of all vehicle owners in California own an EV. If you own an EV, please don't charge it in peak hours because it will tax our energy grid. Yet he wants all the cars in California eventually to be EVs, and already our energy grid is being taxed. This is what's going on. That is why, for the first time in 170 years, people are leaving California. We've lost in about 2.5, 3 years, 500,000 people, and they've taken their tax dollars with them, including people like Elon Musk, who over the years would have paid billions of state income taxes to California. Those kinds of monies are gone. And so this is a warning about what would happen to the country if the California policies are exported to the other 49 countries. As you well know, Gavin Newsom wants to become president, if not this cycle, then next cycle. And I'm warning the country by reading my book, As Goes California: My Mission to Rescue the Golden State and Save the Nation. It is a warning about what would happen if the same left wing policies, the environmental extremist policies, the anti wealth creators policies infect the rest of the country.
I love that, Larry. And also, the forward is written by the great uh, Candace Owens, who I have so much respect for. And I think you wrote the forward in her book.
Yeah, she wrote
So
the book Blackout. I wrote the forward for that. And so she's returned the favor and written the forward for this. Brandon, a few other things too that I think I bring to the table regarding running for president. As you know, we just had this debt ceiling standoff. We have that every now and then. Everybody knows that sooner or later somebody's going to blink and the debt ceiling is going to be raised because no party wants to be held responsible for what might happen in the event that we default on our debt. Also, every now and then we have this standoff on whether or not we're going to fund the government. And it's been proven that if you are perceived as a party that shut down the government, you're going to get hurt in the polls. So nobody wants to shut down the government. So government gets bigger and bigger and bigger, largely because the major so-called entitlements programs, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, Obamacare, child programs, are on automatic pilot. And if you run promising to reform these kinds of programs, you are going to lose elections because the other side is going to accuse you of not caring about the sick, the poor, the elderly. The only way to get a handle on these policies, the only way for real structural reform is with an amendment to the Constitution to fix spending to a certain percentage of the GDP. I'm recommending just 10%, with exceptions for war and for natural disaster. That way, politicians whose first goal all too often is to get elected, the second goal all too often is to get reelected. That way, when the politicians have to emerge from a room having made serious, dramatic reform, they can say to the voters, please don't punish me. The law made me do it. And on my website, larryyoder.com, I've got model legislation that states can adopt to get rid of these soft on crime George Soros backed DAs that are wreaking havoc all over America. And I'm going to sign an executive order when I become president so that families of the president and the vice president cannot conduct this kind of graft, whether it's Hunter Biden or whether it's Jared Kushner. It's all bad. And Brandon, let me give you a cynical reason to vote for Larry Elder. Both my parents are no longer with us, unfortunately. Both my two brothers are no longer with us, unfortunately. I have no kids, so I have nobody to graft for. I have nobody to corrupt for. So, if for no other reason, that's a good reason to vote for Larry Elder.
I love it, man, and I love your comedic relief, Larry. It is going to be a tremendous sight to see you get on that debate stage and bring up all of these incredible points and do it with a comedic relief and do it also seriously with facts. I have not seen anybody with the amount of knowledge, with the amount of vigor and confidence and love of the country in these are that's running for president in 2024 as you have. There are other people that can speak well, but they're not relatable. They can talk well, they can say all these big words, and they know how to go out and present. Some people out pumping gas, but they ain't pumping gas. It's just so many people that I think are wet napkins that are running for president. I don't know why they have their name in the race, but I think that you add a tremendous value. And somebody needs to combat what's going on in California. A lot of these people are out of touch with what's going on in California. California is the biggest state, biggest economy, and can be the biggest detriment if their policies spread. I want to hear again, I want to touch on this real quick. We got 1 minute. Do you really think Gavin Newsom can pop up in this election in 2024, given the fact that Biden is half dead?
I do not. If Biden can fog up a mirror, he will be the nominee. And if he can't fog up a mirror, it will be Kamala Harris, because the Democrats are all about identity politics. James Clyburn extracted a promise from Joe Biden when he endorsed him to make sure the first nominee would be a black female. Gavin Newsom, when it appeared that Dianne Feinstein might not finish her term, said he's going to appoint a black female. Joe Biden, of course, chose a black female to run for him. Blacks are the most loyal part of the Democratic Party, and black females are even more loyal than men. They will be livid if Kamala Harris is drop kicked for a white dude like Newsom or Mayor Pete. Believe me, they are stuck with Kamala Harris. She will be the nominee if Joe Biden is not.